It's my pleasure now to introduce the Executive Vice President of the AQHA, Don Treadway, for his address to the membership. Don is a native Oklahoman and a graduate of Oklahoma State University. His father, Don Treadway Sr., was a gold card member for the PRCA, where he competed in bulldogging and calf roping. Although the senior Treadway had hopes for his son to be a steer wrestler, that didn't materialize, and as Don will tell you, that was probably a good thing due to his father's short temper. Don has been with AQHA since 1974 and is serving as AQHA's 9th Executive Vice President. Don has done a remarkable job these past 3 years, making some tough financial decisions for our association, but at the same time introducing some exciting new initiatives that were needed and to keep AQHA moving forward. It has been my pleasure to closely work with Don these past 12 months. Would you please join me in welcoming AQHA Executive Vice President Don Treadway for his address to the AQHA membership.
Well, thank you for those kind remarks, Peter. There was a time last summer I wasn't sure you'd be up here on the stage with us, but you're looking good.
Thank you.
As in my third year as your Executive Vice President, during my report this morning, I want to spend just a few minutes on reviewing the past 12 months, but more importantly, I want to share with you some of the more recent developments that are in the works. These are designed to keep AQHA at the top of the equine industry, despite having been through a very volatile time for AQHA, as well as all equine breed associations. First, our core numbers. AQHA breeders continued to carefully evaluate market conditions as the number of foals registered in 2011 dropped to 91,074. This is a number not seen by AQHA since the late 1970s, and it appears it's not over yet. As you heard in yesterday's Impact member forum, the number of mares bred reported in 2011, which will result in 2012 foals, is likely to be down another 8 to 10%. I've heard so often these past couple of years it's much more economical to buy a young horse than it is to raise one. But I think we're seeing a reverse in that business model, as based on our most recent breeding numbers, there definitely will be a shortage of well-bred young horses in the very near future. So if you have mares that you've been leaving open, or if you have some younger mares that are well-bred, that have a potential of producing a foal that is likely to have an occupation, now I believe is a good time to be breeding those mares. Transfers dropped less significantly in years past, topping out at 133,000, down about 7%. I think it's important for our members and board of directors to realize, even with a decrease of 49% from our top registration number in 2005, we are still, by far, the largest breed registry in the world. And here are the stats to prove it. According to the National Pedigreed Livestock Council, slightly less than 164,000 horses were registered last year by all the major equine associations. AQHA comprised 55% of all those registrations, with the next two largest breeds, the thoroughbreds and the American Paint Horse, registering 15% and 10% respectively. In transfers, the NPLC reported 216,000 horses were transferred last year. With us in the mix, we had a 61% market share of all the horses transferred in 2011. Perhaps the most impressive comparison, in my opinion, AQHA's 287,000 members are more than double all the other membership-based breed associations. This means, although we have seen declines in our numbers, AQHA's market share of the equine business has actually increased anywhere from 5 to 10% from its high in 2004. Although the breeding side of our business has been a challenge, the competition and recreational aspects have been holding their own, and in some areas actually trending upward. In racing, purses topped out at just over $129 million, which was the highest in 15 years, while handle reached $301 million. The average purse per race was $15,300, while the average earnings per starters in those races was $7,700. Again, both stats the highest in 15 years. We remain very pleased with the continued success of the Bank of America Racing Challenge, with more than 100 various challenge races conducted last year, offering nearly $5 million in purse money. It remains a premier program for AQHA, and I'd like to thank Dr. Ed Allred and his team at Los Alamitos for hosting our Challenge Championships last October at his track. On the showing scene, the entries in regular shows increased slightly to 813,000. They were up, slightly, but up. That was an increase. However, when you figure in the special events, which dropped by 6%, the whole total show entry scene was down by 0.25%. I kind of call that flat. The Ford Youth, Adequan Select, and FedEx Open and Bank of America Amateur World Shows remain vibrant, with both the Select and World Shows experiencing increases in entries, exhibitors, and horses, as well as purse and prize money. In the international, I'm very pleased with the interest in China and the prospects of having the first AQHA-approved event in China this year, as well as our Latin American countries, particularly with the inaugural AQHA Latin American Championship slated for April the 17th through the 22nd near Sao Paulo, Brazil. I was also pleased that international registrations climbed to 7,100 last year, an increase of 500 over the previous year, and transfers were steady at slightly over 8,200. In recreational activity, the ride program remained steady, with 81 rides being held during 2011. And the horseback riding program celebrated its 20th anniversary last year. We saw the total number of participants soar to 16,608. That's an all-time high. New for 2012 is from our Recreational Activities Committee. They developed the new AQHA Trail Challenges. The first one will be held later this month in Florida. I know several others have been scheduled. And as Trent told you, if you understood everything he said, we really made a profit of $390,000 in operations for AQHA in fiscal 2010-2011. I've been told some associations showed a net operations loss of 7 figures. We owe a tremendous thanks to our current and previous Finance Committee members for ensuring AQHA saves some funds from the good times so we could operate without jeopardy in the more challenging times. So now let's visit about the future and how we are going to keep AQHA in its current position of leadership, strength, and prominence so that we continue our primary mission of connecting people with American quarter horses. As I shared with you last year, AQHA had begun the process of redeveloping its strategic planning process. I also stated that AQHA had operating plans in place since the 1990s, but it was time to dig deeper to see what challenges and opportunities we would be facing for the next 8 to 10 years. We also needed to develop a planning process which could help us act accordingly. Much has happened in this area since this time last year, and I wanted to update you where we are, what we are doing, and what we foresee AQHA will be doing in the future. To begin our planning process, we started out by asking ourselves what could and subsequently what will AQHA look like as far out as 2020. Realizing no one can predict the future with certainty, our plan will be a series of rolling 3-year plans pointed to 2020, so the planning process never stops. Agreement has been made that there are 9 areas of concentration for the second rolling 3-year plan for 2012, 13, and 14. You may recall last year I presented 7 areas that had been identified for the 2011 through 2013 plan. But after considerable input by our staff and executive directors and subsequent approval by the executive committee, 2 areas that were formerly subsets of the 7 have now been identified and developed into their own area. These 9 are, and Carol Rose, these are in no particular order: customer satisfaction, membership, youth, infrastructure, technology and operations, products and programs, communication and marketing, business development, breed integrity, and governance. Last year, I spent time reviewing the 7 identified items, and I will take just a few minutes to update you as well as share some new developments that are underway or at least on the table. Regarding customer satisfaction, you have repeatedly told us the importance of a live voice answering the phone when you call AQHA. We continue to try and balance the appropriate number of employees for the amount of work. It's a very fine line. While we have added personnel, as Trent told you, to move the calls through, you undoubtedly still may have difficulty getting through during peak hours. And those peak hours are basically all day Monday and Friday afternoon. So if you want to call AQHA, Tuesday through Thursday is get your best chance of getting through. It's really busy on Mondays. AQHA's final membership number for 2011 was down only 4%, ending at 287,000. This slight decline in memberships was a result of an aggressive membership marketing plan that we did last year that included monthly email promotions, telemarketing calls, fourth quarter campaigns, which included web banners, pop-up videos, direct mail promotions, and numerous email efforts. Without these efforts, we could have lost another 7,000 members. Infrastructure. Our commitment here is to have state-of-the-art technology, and that is why 3.0, our new technology system, is so important. It simply has to be right, and I'm pleased to advise that we are far into the process of what is called user acceptance testing, where the actual end users, our employees, test the functionality of the system. This is the final process before we roll out 3.0. While some of the steps have taken a little longer, and with employees covering dual roles while performing their normal jobs along with the testing, we are in fact about 2 months behind schedule. However, we hope when we begin the rollout of 3.0 in June, you will not see any problems, but rather see more efficiencies when doing business with AQHA. I do know when it's completed, it will be the #1 technology in the equine industry. Products and programs. The object of this identified priority is to audit every product and program at AQHA. In this process, the program manager and others associated with that program or product will be taking a hard look to see if the program is sustainable, has growth potential, is located in the appropriate department, or in some cases needs to be discontinued. Communication and marketing. AQHA's mass media efforts saw 3 special airings on RFD TV. The 3 specials featured Battle in the Saddle, the Adequan Select, and the Project Cowboy Competition. In 2012, I'm proud to announce that American Quarter Horses will once again be featured on RFD TV. We started the year with a bang when I had the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to ride in the Rose Parade, astride one of the more than 100 Palominos that RFD put together for the Happy Trails float in celebration of Roy Rogers' 100th anniversary. I happened to ride behind the 95 Palominos. 5 of us were in a line together, and our group included myself, Baxter Black, and I thought, man alive, I get to ride with Baxter Black for 2.5 hours in the Rose Parade. How cool is this? Well, I'm kind of hoarse, but Baxter had total laryngitis. He had no voice. So he did ask me, how many people do you think know sign along the route? And I said, what? How many people know sign? And I said, I don't know, maybe 1%? Okay. Well, he'd wave, and he'd go, I don't know what he was saying, but we didn't have anything thrown at us. Then, but taking up the slack when he couldn't tell stories was Julie Ashley. Julie is actually Roy and Dale's granddaughter, Roy Rogers and Dale Evans. I'll share one of the stories that's kind of appropriate for what happened a little bit ago. She was telling us how her grandparents, Roy and Dale, rode in the Rose Parade 6 or 7 times, and they were grand marshals at least one time. I think it may have been appearance number 3 when they were about halfway through the parade on their horses, and Roy looked over at Dale and said, honey, I've got to go to the bathroom. And Dale looked at him and said, you know the routine, Roy, we can't get off our horses for another 1.5 hours. You don't understand, Dale. I have got to go to the bathroom. You're going to have to tough it out, honey. There's nothing else. We're going to ride our horses to the end. About that time, it started raining. They rode another half a block, and Roy looked over at Dale and goes, so you got it handled. This fall, we'll partner with RFD TV to present a series of specials that focus on our lifestyle and our horse. We'll have hour-long specials on Battle in the Saddle and the Adequan Select. We'll also have 2 hours, which is new this year, from the AQHA World Championship show. And we've partnered with Tootie Bland to bring Project Cowboy back for 3 half-hour reality-based shows that show the true cross-section of the horse industry. AQHA has more than 347,000 friends on Facebook. 78% of these fans are females. Facebook continues to grow as a way to engage both current and potential members. Through contests, quizzes, and dialogue, we can reach out to the horse community in a way that the association really hasn't had before. But we're also serious about maximizing its marketing potential by exposing our corporate partners and their products and services through our Facebook pages. Next month, we'll launch a grassroots initiative called Ride Now Tour. The Ride Now Tour is a partnership with our friends at Active Interest Media, who own Horse and Rider, Equus, American Cowboys, Spin to Win, and other equestrian media, to promote getting out and enjoying your horse more. The tour will focus on basic safety, nutrition, tack, and horsemanship that we all need to get started and have more fun on the trail. The Ride Now Tour will be seen at retail outlets and equine fairs and expos around the country in 2012, and we see this opportunity expanding to be a grassroots, boots-on-the-ground marketing effort in 2013 and beyond. For our racing members and to expose American quarter horse racing to a larger audience this past year, we dropped the subscription fee for Q Racing Video. Now everyone can watch live quarter horse racing from almost every track around the country. In addition, the archives are available to view around the clock. It's just one more way to serve owners, trainers, members, handicappers, and fans, and we appreciate those of you who support this effort with your advertising dollars. Another initiative being developed is under the umbrella of the American Horse Council. We're looking for 10 industry leaders to partner to develop basic messaging and awareness about the benefits of horses and horse activity. So far, we have the American Association of Equine Practitioners, Pfizer, Purina, Marielle, Merck, United States Equestrian Federation, and Farnham, and AQHA are putting their money where their mouth is and getting this started. Our first effort will be the conducting of a nationwide survey to determine from horse enthusiasts who don't own a horse what barriers they perceive to ownership. Certainly cost will be one of them, but what about other barriers? Once we know these, we can organize to change the barriers and hopefully get horses back on the radar screen for enjoyment by the American public. In the area of business development, we continue to look at means outside our normal scope of core business to look for sources of revenue. I'm pleased to share with you that one such source of revenue is ARC, Awards Recognition Concepts. We have a video here, I hope. We anticipate it will be a seamless transition, as last week, via ARC, AQHA became the supplier of all AQHA awards and trophies. Eventually, we hope we can earn the business of alliances and affiliates to be the provider of your year-end trophies and other forms of recognition you might need. The goal for ARC is to provide AQHA its awards and recognition while also becoming a revenue stream to subsidize our core programs and products. When fully developed, we expect it to contribute a very positive number to AQHA's operational bottom line. So the trophies that you guys are earning will be coming from AQHA from now on. They actually work a little faster than that. This was all staged. Here we go. Some of the different awards that we've been able to do so far. We're seeing more and more people visit AQHA's website, with unique visitors surpassing 1.2 million last year. That doesn't include the almost 368,000 visits made by people on their mobile devices. With such traffic on our own website, we are investigating an e-commerce site specifically for marketing American quarter horses. Details should be coming out soon. Additionally, for 2012, AQHA will bring the AQHA World Show sale in-house, with 100% of the net proceeds being added back to the operating budget of the World Show. Our thanks to Mike and Tim Jennings for their management of the sale for many years. Under governance, as you know, we continue to refine AQHA's structure of governing, and again this year, proposed bylaw changes are on the Nominations and Credentials Committee agenda. This is an effort to continue to refine and tweak the bylaws to be more transparent and ensure members are sufficiently represented by AQHA's board. Now I'd like to address the two areas of focus which were added this year. They were actually within membership and within governance, but we pulled them out to make their own areas: youth development and breed integrity. AQHA is taking bold steps to lead the charge in a comprehensive education effort for young people. With this strategy, we are leading the challenge of encouraging the entire horse industry to support an effort to introduce children to horses through fun and engaging activities, always with the ultimate goal of getting every interested child horseback. Obviously, we have known for some time that kids are not getting connected to horses the way they used to. In fact, today, maybe many of you experience this in your everyday life. the activities competing for kids' attention is vast. When it comes to horses and horse-related activities, nobody is actively marketing and promoting horses to a younger audience. This is resulting in a decline in youth, not just at AQHA, but in horse activities in general. That's why AQHA decided to create an organization and a program to engage children ages 5 to 8 years with horses. And we're doing it united with industry advisors and in a format in which youth are comfortable digitally. This is exciting, folks. Your association will be leading the charge to engage children with horses at ages we have not attempted before. I've been a bit leery about targeting such a young audience via iPhones and electronic games, but I have a good test market. I tried to figure out a way to get my grandson in here today. I have a good test market, my 2.5-year-old grandson, shown here learning the ropes on his dad's smartphone. Smart kid, huh? We need to get in the game so horses can become an area of interest at very early stages. This will be done through digital oats, which was discussed at length yesterday during Impact, and Todd Branson did a great job. I believe it's spot on to stimulate growth, good grief, among young people and lead AQHA into 2020. 4-H will be our partners with this, the various levels of 4-H, and there's tremendous donor interest in this program to make it happen. Breed integrity. This area covers much in our industry. For now, the commission will, wait a minute. This area covers much in our industry. For now, we are concentrating on obvious abuse, excessive training techniques, and medication and drug abuse in our industry. Folks, it's simple. We must put an end to these practices. I am pleased with the progress made during the past 12 months in the racing world relative to clenbuterol. Clenbuterol, when used appropriately, is a bronchodilator used to help horses with breathing trouble. When misused, it acts as a beta-2 agonist to build muscle mass, and AQHA recommends a 30-day withdrawal period prior to race day for it. About 1 year ago, several of us met with Dr. Ed Allred at his racetrack in Los Alamitos, and efforts were launched then to initiate withdrawal times for the use of clenbuterol at his track in California. I am pleased to report that other states are in the process of discussing or implementing rules regarding clenbuterol, and these include Oklahoma, Texas, and Louisiana. New Mexico's Racing Commission will enact their rules regarding 30-day withdrawals April the 20th in time for the opening of the meet in Sunray Downs. Groups that have already implemented rules or clarifications regarding the drug include the Canadian provinces of Alberta and Ontario, plus Colorado, Indiana, Wyoming, and as I mentioned earlier, California. The Executive Committee and I are extremely pleased with the AQHA's newly appointed Animal Welfare Commission. The commission met for the first time 1 month ago, followed by a meeting with several of AQHA's alliance partners. My thanks to Dr. Jim Hurd for chairing this commission, and as been stated, the vision of the AQHA Animal Welfare Commission is for the American quarter horse to be treated with kindness and respect under all circumstances. This is not an effort to go out and get somebody or some segment of our business. It's an effort to protect our livelihood and our horse. It is essential to have a united front in bringing forth efforts that will continue to protect our horses. Members of the commission are Dr. Jim Hurd, Chair, Sandy Vaughn, Kevin Dukes, Carol Harris, Dr. Eleanor Green, Sandy Arledge, Dr. Glenn Blodgett, Sam Rose, Clark Parker, Paul Jones, Pete Kyle, Dr. Tom Lenz, and Gil Gallion, and AQHA Executive Committee member George Phillips. Briefly, I want to point out some areas of concern and items to be addressed that were identified in the Commission's first meeting last month. We talked a lot about our Stewards program. The group agreed the Stewards program was good for the industry, but that continuing education, training, and tools were needed to help the stewards do their jobs better. Specifically, AQHA will consider a tracking system for individuals who have been reprimanded by stewards but continue with infractions. Our goal is for stewards to turn in offenses and infractions within 24 hours of stewarding a show. We want the ability for AQHA to compile multiple violations from one person from different locations into swift disciplinary action, while a long-term goal is to have a steward at every show. On the topic of medication and drugs, the Commission acknowledged that AQHA had taken a leadership role related to permitted medications as well as illicit performance-enhancing drugs, especially the illegal use of clenbuterol. All agreed the drug testing program and AQHA's efforts were beneficial and talked about ways to continue improving the industry's efforts. Specifically, in racing, we want to look at funding mechanisms to help catch violators. One suggestion that needs study would be an additional fee that owners of race stars would pay to test more horses in more races. We want to continue the efforts of the AQHA Racing Committee's Equine Health, Welfare, Integrity, and Research Subcommittee, including discussing the topic of enhanced drug testing at the state level. The Commission wants to investigate and examine out-of-competition testing and continue working with the United States Equestrian Federation on consistent testing methods and programs. Regarding the subject of equipment, a lengthy discussion took place regarding the manner in which equipment is being used, both correctly and improperly, at AQHA shows. It was acknowledged that any equipment in the wrong hands could be abusive and that clear guidelines on acceptable equipment and the use of it needs to be developed. Specifically, it was suggested that the Commission work with a group of industry representatives to develop guidelines under which draw reins and other training devices might be used on AQHA show grounds. Additionally, the Commission will work with alliances where there is a conflict between AQHA and alliance rules, which come into play at dual-approved events such as NRHA and NCHA. There are a couple of items on the Show and Professional Horseman Committee agenda related to equipment that are getting a lot of chatter. I want to take a minute to address those items. Those two items on the agenda had nothing to do with the Animal Welfare Commission. I want to be clear about that. The Commission has recommended nothing to be placed on any committee's agenda at this point. Those equipment usage items were submitted by AQHA members from Europe, and their appearance on the agenda is nothing more than pure coincidence. Agenda items were due December 31st, and the Animal Welfare Commission didn't meet until February the 6th. It is my hope that the Show and Professional Horseman Committee will use this as an opportunity to help the Commission and the many good people in our industry. A lot of good can start right here at this convention. Rather than talking that agenda item to death or giving it no action, perhaps a group of members from the Show and Professional Horseman Committee can be tasked with reviewing equipment and training practices that take place and coming up with agreeable goals and realistic timelines for implementation. We need your help. We might not like to admit it, but if we were to look ourselves in the mirror, me included, we've all been guilty of a crime. When we see draw reins used excessively, when we see horses in obvious discomfort as a result of poor training practices or excessive use of training equipment, and then we choose to say nothing or correct the behavior, it's akin to leaving the scene of an accident. The time has come to stop and render aid to our horses and to people who might need the assistance more than we might realize. It's about taking control of our industry, demonstrating change, and being sincere about protecting the very animal to which we're all dedicated, not because we're afraid someone else is going to do it, but because it's the right thing to do. I hope we can come together with a good group of individuals who are ready to assist this industry in doing better. We all have to agree, we have room to improve, and that is the common ground we need to seek on topics like equipment. As to penalties, there was widespread agreement that more education geared toward owners was necessary to ensure they understand what is and what is not acceptable, that they have a working knowledge of equipment and know the appropriate questions to ask of professional trainers. A subcommittee of the Commission will be appointed to recommend and develop a chart of offenses and appropriate penalties. The chart should describe violations and define penalties so that everyone understands, or at least has the opportunity to understand, the rules under which the industry is operating. It was further recommended that a grievance committee be appointed with the responsibility of reviewing violations and making recommendations on penalties. Judges. Regarding our judges, as it relates to the AQHA showing industry, it was widely recognized by the Commission that judges play a major role in the welfare of the American quarter horse and how horses are trained, shown, and presented. It was discussed that AQHA has an outstanding roster of judges and that the training program has vastly improved over the years. But there is room for continued improvement, most especially on a weekend-to-weekend basis. A program that emphasizes how judges place and/or score classes needs to be continually developed to ensure exhibitors and professionals are presenting their horses according to the rules. It was also discussed by the Commission that AQHA and the alliance partners should continue to seek uniform and easy to understand verbiage as it relates to show rules that judges are left to interpret. Discussion was held on ways AQHA can have better accountability, monitoring, and feedback on judging, including investigating ways the association can take a more active role in the hiring process of judges at weekend shows. We want to study that. One item that has been approved by the AQHA Executive Committee last week, and it will be implemented this year, is for riders meetings between the Senior Director of Judges and the exhibitors and trainers at AQHA major events, the Youth Select, Amateur Versatility Ranchers, Open World Shows, and Novice Championships, to explain how the exhibitors will be judged and what and how the judges will be instructed to judge the classes. Such meeting would occur prior to the preliminary of each scored and placed class. Additionally, the Commission will be asking the Judges Committee for input on the horse's movement, including better ways to define being behind the vertical, the head carriage being too low, or being overly canted. Communication and education. A major component to a successful industry-wide effort to improve the welfare of horses and all other animals used in connection to horse activities is a solid communications program and educational platform. This will be an ongoing process, but it's very critical to the success of our efforts. We've also met with our alliance partners to gain input. I personally am very impressed at the lengths and depth that our alliance partners have gone to address humane treatment and drug use within their own organizations. And I think from that discussion during the meeting, we learned that we're all basically on the same page, and that we all agree that there is still more, but we all agree there's still more work to be done. So again, my thanks to the efforts of the Animal Welfare Commission. I know we have a lot more work to do. They're going to be meeting again in April, but we will get where we want to be in terms of welfare of our horses, and by all of us working together, we can make a big difference. As you attend the various standing committees today, you will be given more details on our 9 areas of emphasis, as well as a set of 14 goals we want to achieve by 2020. I look forward to hearing feedback on each of the initiatives. Before I end my report to the membership, I'd like to recognize some folks. First of all, the Executive Committee. Peter did a great job of introducing them to you, but I want to say thanks to George, Johnny T., Johnny D., Gene, and Peter for a great year. In addition to the Executive Committee's support and guidance, I want to thank a great team, the AQHA staff and the Executive Directors, Karen, Tom, Chad, and Trent. Thank you, each one. We also need to thank our spouses. We don't often give them enough credit. Robin, thank you very much for putting up with me. A bigger hand she needs than that. Okay, as the American Quarter Horse Association looks towards 2020, it's my hope that we can ride forward together with our heads held high, knowing we're doing all we can to ensure AQHA remains at the forefront. And likewise, that our great horse, our areas of competition, our members and our professionals are the leaders in the entire equine industry. Thank you.